This weekend, we will see the beginning of the end of Logan Roy. The HBO series Succession will kick off its fourth and final season on Sunday. The show's leading man, Brian Cox, was here in Dubai recently in the UAE to promote his book, Putting the Rabbit in the Hat. And in it, he writes, quote, "I would challenge oceans in pursuit of the reason why. Why be an actor? And on occasion," he said, "I would get severely drenched." But after decades of mostly supporting roles or smaller projects, it is his work as Logan Roy in Succession that has vaulted Cox into the A-list spotlight, complete with multiple Golden Globe and Emmy nominations. Well, I sat down with him for a wide-ranging conversation from what it is like to play Logan Roy in that award-winning TV series to growing up in the Scottish town of Dundee.
Everything I try to do, people turn against me. I'm 100 feet tall.
You've said it can be almost distressingly easy to play Logan Roy.
Oh, yeah.
Your character in the HBO series Succession. You've said if Logan met me, he wouldn't stand me for 2 minutes. So
No,
just explain where we're at with Logan Roy.
Well, Logan is a man of very few words, and I am not a man of very few words. In fact, I use far, as you can witness even now, I use far too many words, which don't always serve me. But it's also because, I'm in love with language. Logan is a misanthrope. He's a really unhappy man. And his problem is, it would be much easier if he didn't love his children. That's his problem. That's his Achilles heel, is he loves his children. So that's always been the difficulty of dealing with these children who are, and it's a satire. It's such a reflection on our life at the moment. That sense of entitlement that those kids have. Now, Logan doesn't feel that. Because for Logan, and this is what's so important, and people go on and compare and say, oh, it's like, they're like the Murdochs, or they're like the Trumps, or they're like the Black family. And you go, the big difference between Logan and all those guys is he's self-made. He didn't inherit anything. It all came from nothing. And it came through disillusion. And so I see his background as one of tremendous disillusion.
Would we consider at least a call?
Was he apologizing?
I mean, did he ask?
I mean, if he were to call, then I guess we would see.
I don't think you're going to tell me what's going to happen in Series 4, but everybody wants to know. So, what happens to Brian Cox in Series 4?
Oh, I go on. I just continue on in my misanthropic self.
I have you beat!
Dealing with the fallout of episode 3, when I've told them to make their own effing pile, as what was my last instruction.
It's F off normally that you say, but effing pile, let's take that, yeah.
But I do say make your own effing pile. So that's, where we've got, and there's a lot of ramifications from that. And season 4 will deal with those ramifications, and that's all I can say on that subject, because I have signed endless...
Are we going to love it?
I think you will love it. I think you will love it. I think, I think it's going to be extremely surprising and probably quite exciting.
I want to tell the opposition, cut their throats. We are pirates!
Are you loving it?
I've always loved it. Let's face it. I'm playing the leading role in the best series in television. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. I mean, what's there not to love? It's been a great opportunity for me. At my age, and people used to say, Brian, it'll be the long haul for you. They used to say that to me. That was the older actors said, oh, it's going to be the long haul. I didn't know it was going to be this long.
Born and brought up in the tough working class environment of what was then Dundee, and continues to be a fantastic but tough city. How did you get out of Dundee and get into the acting, which of course took you down to London as a youngster?
I just think I was very blessed in the sense that right from childhood, I had a vision clearly of what I wanted to do. I didn't know what it was, but I remember it was to do with, I remember New Year, Hogmanay, when we all used to get together. My father was a great You know, he was a quiet man, but he created a sort of social centre for people to come to. And particularly in New Year, they would all come in and songs would be sung. And my sister May, who was a tremendous singer, would sing 1 o'clock in the morning. And I just remember the feeling in the room. I remember how the room transformed. There was this kind of harmony, and it never left me. And I thought, what is that? And then, of course, when I fell in love with acting and going to the cinema and seeing what was going on in the cinema, I thought, this is what I want to do. It was a kind of, I got that sensation from the age of 3 or 4.
Spiky, opinionated and inspiring. That is how your memoir has been described by one reviewer.
What was the first? Spiky?
Spiky, opinionated and inspiring.
That sounds like me.
Well,
I'm not sure about the inspiring, but certainly spiky and opinionated. Yeah.
I did wonder whether that was a fair description of the character that is Brian Cox. Explain.
Yeah, I am spiky, and I am, over the years, I have become quite opinionated, especially at the state of the dreadful state of our world at the moment, which is, can only give way to opinion, quite frankly.
I do want to start with the inspiring bit, because the memoir, Putting the Rabbit in the Hat, has been a real inspiration for people. What inspired you to write it, Brian?
Well, my thing was my parents. That was the most important. That was really the initial motivator. Because, you know, my parents had a rough time, both of them. My dad died far too young. He was 51, and he died within 3 weeks of his diagnosis, and he left us with a pile of poop, you know, which was not altogether his fault, because he was in the middle of something and he died, and he left nothing in the bank, and the businesses all finally packed up. And my poor ma, who had been on at my dad for years and years and years about his, because he was very charitable, my father. He was a sort of amanuensis for the whole community and did amazing stuff. I mean, really amazing stuff. I mean, I remember he organized, in our back green, he organized the 1953 coronation party. God knows why. I mean, looking back on it now, I think it's a pointless venture, but he created the sense of community. And it was sad for me going back to Dundee recently, because of that sense of community has gone, you know, and it's become so depersonalized now.
It was a tough,
for example, when I was a kid, we all had our
70
names on
years
the
ago.
front door. So every family, the Robbies, the Brodies, now, I mean, people have become so battered over the years that their sense of identity has been taken away from them. And I think it's something that, you know, when I was doing this program about poverty, the main thing that people had, the terrible thing about food banks, for example, is it takes away dignity. And human beings they require a little bit of dignity, a little bit of sense of who they are and that they have some purpose. You take that away and you really defeat people.
Let me ask at this point, what do you make of British and, more specifically, Scottish politics today?
I'm hopeful that we will get through it, and I'm hopeful we will get independence. But see, I don't just see it in terms of independence of Scotland. I see it as also independence of England, because I think England has as many problems, if not more problems, because certainly the North has always been treated like the poor relation. But I'd like to see the disbandment of a United Kingdom and have a united federation, so where we're all on equal footing with one another. So we share, you know, because you can look at, you know, you look at the map and you look at the islands. We are a tight-knit island community, but we need much more equity in that, and that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I hope that we could get.